Okay, this is probably coming out about a week after the first one of these, but yes, more Fairy Tail. Not that anyone cares, given the subject matter in the year. But anyway, since the last one of these I did, I'm now like 120-something episodes in. The last one I watched was the one that mentions a 7-year time skip. So yeah, we'll talk about the arcs and my thoughts on them between where I went, finish off last time, and now I believe those are the Nirvana arc. There's a filler arc that I skipped. Edellands was it? Yeah. And the Tenorajima Island, or the S-rank test arc that goes out of hand. Well, that's not really the way to describe it. Whatever. Anyway, also I'm a little bit ill, so if I sound nasally, that's why. I'm still ill, I guess I should say. As I'm recording this, I'm recording this decently before it goes up. Anyway, so, the Nirvana arc. Well, I guess we'll comment on some things. Right at the end of the... Well, right at the end. In the previous one of these, I mentioned, I imagine that Eligor will show up at some point, because it's teased that he will, and... Well, we know that Jalal isn't dead, so he'll probably show up again. And, well, they immediately show up in this arc when they have to go fight the Oracion Seis. There's 6 members of that. There are actually 7 members if you count the Master, so... With the 8, actually, if you count the Master and the staff. Weird. Yep, so you got Oracion Seis. And then Jalal and Eligor show up, and that Eligor has literally no role at all. He shows up to get one shot by Natsu, so... yeah. The arc as a whole, we'll talk about Jalal in a bit, because I've got some points on that. The arc as a whole's okay. Very much how most of Fairy Tail is, in my opinion. So far, at least, it's just okay. Nothing special, nothing bad. At least, particularly bad. The villains in this arc, I like that, they try and give them some kind of tragic-ish backstory. And connect them to the Towers of Heaven and Erza in some means, but not, like, directly to Erza just because of the Towers of Heaven. And Jalal, of course. It's just... But I'm like, why? Because it doesn't get fleshed out. It's just like, when they're beaten, they get these flashbacks of, oh, I just wished for this, and then their magic is like a monkey's paw version of what they wanted. I like the idea, but like it's not really fleshed out enough, so it just feels pointless, if I'm being honest, and is there to just try and garner some sympathy for the villains. Except the main big bad of Oracion Seis, Zero, or whatever, Brain. Codename Brain. Who fuck knows what his actual name is, just Brain, or Zero. Good god, he's a character. Clearly a bad person, both as Zero and as Brain, given what we find out later with Ultir. But yeah, I'll come on that later anyway. But yeah, the arc as a whole, it's okay. The finding out that Kate's shelter isn't real, it's just one guy who then also vanishes at the end. I'm like, what? Huh? Okay, interesting. So they were registered as an official guild because they were put on the like thing. The joint mission as a member of the guild. Only sent one member because there was only one real member, but that nobody in the council had known that Kate Shelter weren't a real guild, and whatever. And now you got Nirvana. It's just, good people become bad, bad people become good. That. Sure, I don't really care. I think it's a dumb concept. It was a stupid MacGuffin, in my opinion, but hey, whatever. Also, god, Natsu's fucking motion sickness. It was a funny gag at the beginning. It's funny in air quotes. Now it's just like, just stop. Like, it's pointless. It achieves nothing. It's just like, it's like, you've got like the Nirvana, which is this big moving thing. It's like, oh, it's a vehicle, I can't be on it, I'm motion sick. But that, whatever. I'm not going to comment too much on Natsu's terrible fucking kryptonite, I guess. I hope after the time skip he's no longer completely crippled by something moving. But not Happy, because Happy's his friend, not a vehicle, because that's how motion sickness works. Anyway. Yeah. So, let's talk about Jalal, shall we? I hate memory loss as a trope in fiction. I just despise it. Especially if it's used to make issues go away and any potential conflict after the fact occur. Because Jalal's like, I don't remember, but I remember Ezra, because, yeah, and, oh, that's his name, I remember him, I can magic still, I know what Nirvana is, but I don't remember all the bad things I did. But hey, at least if people are like, yeah, he's still a piece of shit. But then they try and defend him afterward just because he helped them twice during the arc or something. Like, no, he still did really horrible things and tried to like, kill a bunch of people. Why are you giving him sympathy just because he can't remember and helped you twice? Like, what? Dislike that, but it's because I have a dislike of the memory loss trope altogether. So seeing it done really badly as well isn't fun or enjoyable for me. But yeah, the Nirvana arc was okay. Wendy's introduced in the arc. She's okay. I don't dislike her. I don't like her particularly. Yeah. All in all, those are my thoughts on that arc. There's probably other things I should probably comment on. Like, the fights. Yeah, the fights were okay. I don't remember any standing out particularly amongst the rest. So, yeah, we'll leave it at that, I think. The Nirvana arc. Then I believe the filler arc was the next one, and I skipped it, so I won't comment on it. I don't even know what it's about. And then we get the Edellands arc, where we find out the truth about Mr. Gam being Jalal, because he's actually from an alternate fucking reality. If you couldn't tell, I'm not a big fan of this arc either. Well, this arc, I didn't really mind the Nirvana arc, but the Edellands arc, I'm not really a big fan of if an alternate reality is done well, sure, but I don't really think Edellands is handled well. Also, why the fuck does Lysana come back? Like, you could have just let her have been a character that died in a flashback and had been, motivation for characters to change. Yes, those characters have still changed. They don't just magically revert to how they were before after she's not dead anymore. But, like, what? How did she died, but she didn't? And then, fucking hell. If you couldn't tell, I really dislike that. I just didn't really feel anything in particular for the arc. I've not really got many things to say on it. Again, the fights were just alright. Again, conceptually, if it's handled well, it can be good, and I do like the idea of an alternate reality where you have the alternate versions of the characters, and yeah, that can be handled well, but I don't think it was, in my opinion. And also, why the fuck does Lysana just come back? Just live and let live, let die and let die and let die, or whatever. Just, oh god, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy the arc. And then we have the arc I watched the most recently as of recording this, and that is the Tenrojima Island arc, the Grimoire Heart arc, the Zeref arc, I doubt it would be called that, the S-Rank test arc, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I'm going to call it the S-Rank test arc. Anyway, this arc, I actually enjoyed for the most part. Out of all the arcs I've watched so far, I'd say this is probably my favorite so far. Although there are definitely things I would have done differently, that I would have preferred to have happened that didn't happen, but that's a different discussion. So first of all, we've got the initial thing of the test. So we get the first test, which is, fights. And we actually get some interesting development for Natsu with that, with, when he's fighting Gildarts. Oh, I guess I should have mentioned Gildarts for the Edellands arc as well. Gildarts is cool, I guess. That's about it, in my opinion. And we also find out that Gildarts is Kana's dad. Okay, sure. Anyway, so we get some interesting development with Natsu when he has to quote-unquote fight Gildarts. And yeah, they kind of do fight for a little bit, which is interesting. And, he makes Gildarts, he moves Gildarts from the spot he was standing in. It's a bigger, impressive moment. But yeah, whatever. And then Natsu learns, that sometimes fear isn't bad, and you don't always have to rush headlong into every fight. And that's good and all if it was actually applied during the arc, where Natsu, feeling fear and retreating actually benefited him at some point. But he feels fear, for example, with the Godslayer guy. I genuinely forgot his name. I was genuinely back on like fucking Rooster Cock or some shit. That's not his name. It's not even close to his name. But yeah, the guy with the big, massive yellow hair, black flames, Godslayer. Yeah, that guy. Natsu is fearful, but it's like, nah, this isn't the same fear as what with Gildarts where I should run. This is fear that somebody else might beat him. It's like, what? And then he's, oh, Hades, he's scary, he's strong, fear, but we should fight him anyway. It's like, what? There was something told at the start of the arc that then wasn't applied. I do have a gripe with that, but whatever. Sure, let it slide, I guess. I don't expect good writing from this show, but if that had been applied, I actually would have thought that was a really good plot point. I liked it initially, and then it was just thrown away. Gildart's being Kana's dad, sure. Go ahead. It can happen if it wants to. And then we get the Grimoire Heart stuff that happens, because obviously the second test to find the grave gets immediately interrupted. Oh yeah, there's also the guy that's infiltrating from the new council as well. I forgot about that. I can't remember his name. His fake one or his real one. Yeah, I'd let the buzz cut. He could teleport. You know what? I respect it. He comes around in the arc. He starts out being like, initially like, I'm here to find dirt on Fairytail so we can destroy them. And he's like, actually, maybe look, guys, come on. Give him a chance. To an extent. At the end, so, fair enough. A development for a side character that we'll probably never see again. We also get Zeref in this arc. Zeref. The Kuro Madoshi, the Black Mage Zeref. Somehow he's been alive for the past 400 years. That's just not explained. I assume black magic does that. He's also just a regular guy for the most part. Other than, the things around him just fucking die. And if he's supposedly been on this island and has those things where, like, the black aura emits out of him, how is, like, most of this forest just not dead? If wherever he goes, that happens, and he's clearly wandering around. Whatever. Either way. And then he's willing to leave, and then doesn't, because obviously of what happens, but yeah. Zeref's interesting, I guess, overall. His return to fuck human life and Aknologia arriving at the end, but we'll touch on that as we get there. The fights this arc are overall, I actually think, really pretty decent on the whole. Natsu's fight against the Godslayer guy, that's cool, because the idea of, him expelling his magic to take in the enemy's magic is really stupid, but really cool at the same time. The fight is also pretty decent on the whole. Natsu doing similar stuff, when he fights Hades, where Laxus shows up and, he becomes a Ryan Ryu, Thunder, Fire Dragon. That's really cool. To be fair, I did think that was kind of sick, not gonna lie. Yes, it's power friendshipy, and yes, it's kind of an ass pull, but it's still really sick, because it does line up. And when he ate the Ethereum, he became really strong when he had multiple elements in him, and then he was incapable of doing anything afterward. Mostly. Right, so there was implications set up that could happen, so I do, I'm not going to say it was like, oh, it's an ass pull completely, but, a little bit. As, Lax has got there, he just happened to show up, and while he was on his journeys, as he put it, okay, whatever, sure, I'll accept it. But yeah, that's cool. Laxus shows up, he gets to redeem himself from the Battle of Fairytail, and does it in a good way. He's not changed as a person, he's still mostly the same person he was at the end of that arc, which he did develop in that arc. But, he's not suddenly a different person, a couple arcs later. He's still how he was at the end of that one, but he's been able to redeem himself through his actions rather than just being a completely different character. Like, Jalal. Or Altair, who also has stuff in this arc with Grey. Oh, God. I don't like that Altair just... I don't like her, how she's written. How she's like, yeah, I'm gonna be a good person now. Yeah, even though I, did all these really, really horrible things. And then she tries to, like, kill herself. And I'm like, but that wouldn't redeem you for anything. So, like, that's just running away from the issue. Yeah, I don't like Altair. Yeah, and then you get there's obviously other fights and other stuff that happen in this arc. Like, Hades' fall to the dark side doesn't even really make sense. He's asked why, explains it, and it doesn't explain anything. He's like, oh yeah, magic is dark at the root, even though my beliefs that I taught to other people are like, oh, because Makarov literally says it moments later that, magic fits the times. It doesn't matter whether magic's, born from light or born from dark. Magic that goes with something with the times. I don't remember the subtitles and how it's translated very exactly, because I'm watching it in Japanese. So, bear in mind that I might not remember lines perfectly. But yeah, he says along those lines, and that he was taught that by him, and yet he forgot his own beliefs. And that's what made him turn to the... Hades isn't written very well either. Villains in this show aren't typically, so far I've noticed, aren't written very well. The main characters aren't written very well most of the time either, sometimes, but that's by the by. And yeah, Zereth, how he becomes evil, I guess. I'm sure he'll show up and he'll be a major fight later on. Probably not long, well, it probably won't be until later, after the time skip. Who knows? Maybe even the 100-year quest thing's going on with the manga. Although I doubt it. I imagine the 100-year quest manga is about the 100-year quest that Guild Arts tried to do but failed on. I imagine that is actually what the 100-year quest manga is. But that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, so Ichnologia shows up, and it's a dragon. Big black dragon. Scary, annihilated Guild Arts, you know, fucked them up, took an arm, took a leg, damages organs and stuff. Wipes out the island completely. Supposedly, you know, killing all the members of Fairytail that were on the island. Obviously, they're not dead. Like, of course they're not dead. And how they'll have survived, well, I imagine it's that fairy lady that we see with the blonde hair and that we see in the opening, and who prays right before Ichnologia does when they're attacking Ichnologia, before it does the breath attack. And also, there's a big power friendship moment that seemingly doesn't work, but it's going to have worked. So, power friendship for the win, yay, Fairytail, woo! You know what I mean? That's kind of another crucial point of this show is power friendship, good. Trumps all. Deus Ex friendship. God. But yeah, obviously, I knew that when I was getting into it. I probably shouldn't keep harping on about the same point. Yeah, overall, these arcs weren't too bad. I actually did enjoy watching the S-Rank trial arc. I thought it was alright overall. Better than the other ones that I've talked about in this video. But yeah, that's just how it is for now. Obviously, I'll make another one of these in the future. And when I've watched some more very rambly, I've just realised I've somehow gone on for longer in this one than I did in the first one. Anyway, with all that said, like, comment, sub, usual YouTube stuff, let me know your thoughts and stuff. You know that. Anyway, with all that said, as always, I've been Animosity, you've been you, and I hope to catch you all next time for another video. Ta-ta. For now.